This morning with Tony Crocamo is brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. He's on the line with us now. Tony, how'd I do?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fabulously well. Did I do okay, Crocamo?
You did very well. Very well. Almost as good as I do.
Hey, this is interesting. Fair Districts PA, of course, we've been in touch with Sid Rieger all from the beginning as this is a movement that is gaining some steam. Fair Districts PA, you have an event. Actually, it's a Zoom thing today, isn't it?
It is this evening. It's 6:30.
Okay.
And if people interested, can send an email to Fair Districts PA, fdpa.indiana@gmail.com, and they'll send you the link.
There you go. And you can take part in this thing. So what is the focus of this?
The focus of this is typically that gerrymandering, which Fair Districts PA has been working on for 4 years, but other organizations have been working on for 30 years in Pennsylvania, the ability to draw districts to favor one party or a candidate. It's gotten out of control in Pennsylvania. There is no public participation of any real weight. And basically the politicians are drawing the lines of the districts. Mm-hmm. And the reason this issue and so many other issues can't make any headway in Harrisburg is because of the rules that govern how the legislature operates. And those rules are written, revised, and voted on the first day of the session every year. And those rules, for decades now, have given way too much power to three positions in the House: committee chairs, majority leader, and the speaker. And any one person in those three positions can block any legislation for any reason. Mm-hmm. Committee chairs have complete control over what bills get hearings on the committees, what bills come up for a vote on the committees, and of course a bill has to be voted out of committee before it can go to the floor. So even if a bill gets voted out of committee, then the speaker can kill it.
Okay.
Or the majority leader can kill it. So nothing gets done in Harrisburg.
So Fair Districts PA, of course, your concern primarily is with redrawing of districts for voting purposes and dealing not only with congressional but also statewide districts.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talk about this program tonight, and by the way, it's called Dysfunction by Design, How PA State House Rules Silence Debate and Damage Democracy. It applies certainly to Fair Districts PA and to your positions, but also to just the way that business is conducted in Harrisburg, yes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. You consider property tax reform. How many of our representatives and senators that we vote for have campaigned on property tax reform? Year after year after year. Nothing gets done. Infrastructure improvements, roads, highways, bridges. Nothing gets done. We have a lead poisoning problem in Pennsylvania. There are 18 cities in Pennsylvania that have recorded higher levels of lead in blood of children than in Flint, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And nothing gets done. It's just remarkable.
So tell me what people attending this Zoom conference tonight, what they're going to experience and what they're going to learn.
Well, it's going to be a presentation. I'm going to talk about how districts are drawn in Pennsylvania. There's two processes, one for congressional districts, federal districts in Washington, or Congress people, and then there's another separate and distinct process for drawing the lines for state house and state senate districts. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to define reapportionment, gerrymandering, those two processes. I'm going to talk about legislation that Fair Districts has supported that hasn't gone anywhere because of the rules. I'm going to talk about legislation that we're going to support going forward that, truthfully, unlikely to go anywhere unless they change the rules. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to talk about other legislation that has failed unless the rules change. So the focus right now is, we believe that unless the rules change, nothing changes. And we're going to be encouraging citizens. And citizenship we see as a contact sport. You have to call your representatives. And the sad thing is, Todd, that our representatives on the first day of the session willingly vote to pass those rules that prevent them from representing us. Mm-hmm. It gives the party leaders complete control of the agenda. So even if the legislature goes, and there are good and decent people that run for office and get elected, and they go there and they want to do something, they want to make a difference, they have a passion for good governance, and then that vote occurs on the rules, and they can't represent their constituents. It's unless they align perfectly with the chair of the committee, or the majority leader, or the speaker.
This, of course, is a census year, and after the census, in each of the 0 years, if you will, after 2010, districts were redrawn, as has always been the case. The courts eventually stepped in and struck down those districts and basically made up their own. I don't know how you feel about that, but here we are at the end of another census year, and it's time to go through the process again. And certainly we want it to be done properly so that the courts don't step in. Is that a correct way of putting it?
We want it to be done properly, and the way I feel about the way the court stepped in, and the court in that decision in saying the maps as drawn were unconstitutional, they gave several weeks for 8 parties, interested parties, to submit maps. They also rejected those maps. The Republicans submitted maps. The Democrats submitted maps. The governor, the lieutenant governor, and other interested parties submitted maps. All those maps were rejected by the courts, and the court hired an academic to draw the maps. And still, that process, no public input. Here are your maps. Love them or not, this is the way it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So that was not, we don't think that was a good process either. We would love to see, public input on the maps. We'd love to see the maps before they become a fait accompli, before they're, just shoved down our throats by the legislature or the courts or whoever. We want to have the public comment on it. We want to have communities of interest represented. We don't want maps that favor Democrats or favor Republicans. We just want maps that are fair. Mm-hmm. That's all. We want the maps to reflect, the elections to reflect the true voice of the people, what the people really want. And if it's a predominantly Democratic area, fine. If it's a predominantly Republican area, fine. That is the legitimate voice of the people. But to rig the maps so that you affect the result of elections, we see as essentially un-American.
Tony Crocamo is our guest this morning. Fair Districts PA is having this affair tonight called Dysfunction by Design, How PA State House Rules Silence Debate and Damage Democracy, 6:30. And again, to attend, you email fdpa.indiana@gmail.com. Since Indiana's in this, is this an Indiana-centric event, or is it inclusive of everybody in Pennsylvania?
It's inclusive of everybody in Pennsylvania.
All right, so anybody can attend. Are you the only speaker, or are there others who will be involved?
For this evening, I believe I'm the only speaker. There's going to be a question and answer period during the course of it, so there will be other people chiming in and asking questions, and I will do my best to answer them or follow up with an answer if I don't have the information right then.
Since the court decision a couple of years ago having to do with the redistricting of Pennsylvania, both congressional and other, are you happy with the progress that has been made, or has there been progress made in making the whole redistricting fair?
Oh, no, there's been no progress. I mean, those maps were drawn, and they changed the dynamic of it and everything. We went from 15, and we have 18 congressional seats. We went from 15 Republicans and 3 Democrats to 9 and 9. But they did that court decision. Again, no public input on it, so I'm not crazy about that. But that court decision did not change the process. The same wonderful people that drew those districts, those congressional districts that were deemed to be unconstitutional, and they were seen as some of the worst gerrymandered districts in the country. The same people are going to draw the maps this time around. Mm-hmm. The same process. That court case did not address the process. The problem is the process.
Obviously, you and others have been talking about it with state lawmakers. Anybody want to move on this at all?
There are a number of lawmakers that want to move for it. In the last session, our bills had more co-sponsors in the House than any other legislation, more co-sponsors than any other legislation. It could not get a committee vote.
Mm-hmm. Which goes back to what you were talking about.
Yeah, the rules have to change. Despite the bipartisan support, despite the fact that 66% of Pennsylvanians approve of this, according to a Franklin and Marshall poll in 2019, 66% of Pennsylvanians approve of redistricting reform. We could not get a vote.
Yeah, it's interesting because you know that some lawmakers might throw their support behind something knowing that what they really believe is going to be protected, if you will, by the leaders in the legislature. It won't let it come to a vote. That's sort of that political game that gets played there.
Oh, yeah. Just because we had more co-sponsors than everybody else doesn't mean we had more votes. But here's the thing. By locking things up in committee, we never get to know what the real stand is of our legislators. Mm-hmm. They never have to stand up in front of God and everybody and the people and say thumbs up or thumbs down to redistricting reform, property tax reform, any of those issues that are important to so many of us. They don't have to weigh in, so they can say whatever they want to say, and then they can say, well, I would have voted for that, but it's not my fault it didn't get out of committee.
Yeah. All right. The program is Dysfunction by Design, How PA State House Rules Silence Debate and Damage Democracy. 6:30 tonight. To get the link for the Zoom conference, fdpa.indiana@gmail.com. Tony, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It's been informative.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate it. I hope everybody joins in tonight.
Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160 and AM 1160.